Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of There's Still Time, the AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam Territory at the University of beautiful British Columbia. I'm Michael McCall,
And I'm Zachary Adam Eisenhower.
and unfortunately, we don't have Steve on the show tonight, and I'll hold my hands up, it's my fault. In the 84th minute of the Cavalry Whitecaps game tonight, I sent Steve out to go outside the Uber Eats offices in Calgary just to check out to see if there was any phone calls coming in. Obviously didn't need to do that, but I forgot to text him to cancel his assignment, so I think he's still camped out there now. He did send a lovely picture of a burger that he'd ordered though, so at least that is a positive sign.
Oh
But
my.
yes, we are here to talk Canadian Championship. There's a lot of Canadian Championship action. We didn't have our podcast at the weekend. It was just way too busy for me covering League 1 stuff. We'll touch a little bit in part 2 on the Whitecaps MLS, their big health and safety protocol outbreak. We can't say the C word. I don't think. It's banned in Canada, that word, is it not? Anyway. But we will be talking about that. We'll be looking at how the Canadian Championship played out in part 2 for the other teams. We'll be looking a little bit at League1 BC and hearing from some of the coaches after opening weekend in part 3. But in this part, we're kicking things off with a game on Wednesday night in Calgary, the rematch from 2019 as the Whitecaps redemption tour continued on. Could they get the job done? They'd already got that CPL monkey off their back by beating Valor in the first round. Now, could they get past that team that embarrassed them in 2019? Spoiler, they did. They were made to work hard for it though, Zach.
Very much so. And as Tommy Williams Jr. was, quick to point out, he has yet to lose to an MLS side.
Yes, I like that.
in normal time or in 90 minutes or whatever. This is something I think that is like a breath of fresh air, a light near the end of the tunnel for like Whitecaps fans. It's something that I think, I mean, this is what cup football is about, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, when you're having a season that's not going your way, you can have some nights in the cup where, you know, midweek where your team performs well, or your team gets a result, or you go on a run. And I know this competition doesn't take a lot of games to win, but I think for Whitecaps and for their fans, the Voyageurs Cup this year is brought a lot of encouragement.
So when it was in the 84th minute, what was the biggest surprise for you, Zach? A, that the Whitecaps got that goal and then won on penalties, or B, that the one soccer stream didn't cut out before the end of the game?
Oh, that was so unfortunate the night before.
Yes, we'll talk about that in the next part. Yes.
Sort yourself out. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just in case my thing had anything to do with it, my Fubo TV, I made sure I was on the channel and not on like the individual program, because that's what I originally thought happened to my feed, although I realized it wasn't.
No.
But I wasn't surprised that the Whitecaps won the shootout, and they came back and won. I think there's some glaring things about their goal. I think there's some disturbing things about the format of the tournament, which I'm sure we've talked about on the show before, and I maybe didn't realize at the time, or I don't know I don't know what I said at the time, but this format is not the correct format in my opinion.
It was the format last year as well, because that's what happened with Forge in Montreal, because then it went straight to penalties and Montreal got through.
And I think it felt the same then. I mean,
yeah. I would feel the same. Like, no matter who won tonight, no matter who won between Pacific and York.
Oh yeah,
my feeling's the same. It's not ideal.
I messaged you and Steve, right?
Yeah.
As soon as my feed came back on. Well, actually, I saw it on my phone first that there was an equalizer. So as soon as that happened, and then the feed came back on, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we're going straight to shootouts." I messaged you guys, said, "This is ridiculous. Like, this is the format of a preseason tournament. Like, this is not your Nations Cup where it's like, oh yeah, we're going to make it a little bit shorter because fixture congestion or whatever. That should not be excuses for your Nations Cup. Like, it's
not MLS Next Pro.
Yeah, exactly. It is. This needs to be changed. Like, this is not the way Cup football should happen. There should have been extra time on the island. There should have been extra time in Calgary.
And like both games, who knows what the outcome really would have been, because I think on the island, and I know we're jumping ahead from the next part, but Pacific were in the ascendancy. You have to feel they would have got the job done. In this one, I honestly don't know how extra time would have played out. Just the way that the game had gone.
I'd agree with you on the island, absolutely. I think in the Vancouver Cavalry game, I think Vancouver must have been favored if it had gone to extra time still.
Probably, but we've seen Cavalry this season in CPL, late in games and stoppage time, they find that extra something, and they've been getting goals, and I think it would have been a right battle. Yeah. Hopefully. I mean, extra time though, I mean, let's be honest, in a lot of games, and I've seen this in the English playoffs over the years, and this season in particular as well, extra time can be boring and cagey because there's too much on the line, and both teams just want to get to penalties, so neither team really goes for it. So I don't think that would have been the case tonight, because I don't think a Tommy Beelden Jr. side, for example, can do that, and I'm not sure that a Vanni Sartini's side can do that either. So I think it would have been an entertaining 30 minutes that we were deprived of. But
I think so too.
Like, getting into this one, there were 7 changes for the Whitecaps from the team that bravely went down 2-1 to Charlotte at the weekend. I mean, just touching on that game, that was such a battling performance from the Whitecaps on Sunday, and I really felt for them. To take that early lead and then to give up a goal soon after, and then to hold out until some horrendous defending 5 minutes from time that gave Charlotte the winner. It was like a gut punch.
Yeah,
I mean, and then they came back with a strong performance tonight.
Yeah, that winning goal against Charlotte was all kinds of shocking. Like, there's multiple horrendous things in it, but I was expecting Anchor. I was expecting Anchor to start again.
Well, the plan as of yesterday was Anchor was starting with Ben Alexander on the bench, but then Isaac Boehmer and Cody Cropper both came out of health and safety protocols today. They tested negative, so they put Cropper in, and Max has flown back to Vancouver. But because Ben had travelled out, they kept him on the bench. I'm a big fan of Ben Alexander, as I said on one of the last shows as well. But my understanding is he's looking to go to college, so he can't sign a pro deal or anything, obviously, because he wants to go to college. But I think it was the right decision to put Cropper in goals for this. And I liked the lineup. It was a very, very strong lineup. And Vanni Sartini had made it clear when we spoke to him before the season started even, that the Canadian Championship was a priority. They really wanted to win this, get all those ghosts put to bed, but also to claim a berth in the Champions League. And you saw from that lineup that Vanni really wanted to go for it. And in the early going, the Whitecaps were far and away the better side.
Yeah. I think the Whitecaps, the first part of the first half, I think Vanni said after the game too, like, yeah, he was proud of the way they played in that segment of the game. But they created stuff. There was some good creativity, but their finishing was either poor. Their finishing was poor, and there was some great, cavalry defending.
Yeah. I mean, Caicedo had a chance 4 minutes in, header off the bar. Then Cava had a header that was saved on the line by Marco Carducci. And then 11 minutes of the half to go, Cava, great opportunity in front of goal, scuffs it over the bar. So I think that was the three best chances for the Whitecaps.
Wait, is that the... I thought there was also one where Cava shot and it got blocked and went over the goal. That was one I thought. He went with his outside of his left instead of... I don't
know if that was the one he scuffed over or if I'm thinking of another one then. But
I think you're thinking of a different one because this one definitely got blocked. But it was like he maybe could have taken it with his right or could have controlled it with his right and then cut back. But it was a great block by the Cavalry defender. I can't remember who it was, and that header, yeah, again, just like a little bit to one side, and I think it causes Marco some problems.
Yeah, I mean, Whitecaps should have been up by the half, but maybe they should have also been down a man. That tackle from Michael Baldissimo was a borderline red for me. To be fair, though, he was taken out of a play early as well, and there wasn't even a foul given on that one. So I think the referee had set his stall out early that you had quite a long leash in this game, which I like. But I don't know, that it was a waist-high tackle. I think if there was VAR, that might have been a red.
I was going to say, there's no VAR in CPL, right?
No.
Yeah,
which makes me like the league all the more because it's just referee mistakes.
Yeah, and dodgy things happening when no one's watching.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of gives, I think, lots to talk about. Yeah, I think you're right. I think if there's VAR, there's a significant chance that goes differently. I mean, VAR doesn't always get it right. I mean,
oh no.
I mean,
Toronto fans will testify to that.
No, I know, but even Toronto, the thing that brings to my mind about this most recently is, as aside from the Toronto goal in Vancouver, is Osorio, before he got his winner for Toronto on the weekend, he got a booking for a yellow that I think I agreed with Stephen Caldwell for once. I think he was lucky not to get a red, and VAR looked at it and said, no, play on. But it was like his legs straight into the side of a planted leg, and it was like, okay, that's just a yellow. So anyways, yeah, VAR doesn't always get it right. Yeah. But yeah, when you know there's no VAR, you got to take those, you know you're going to get some from that, but you also might lose out a little bit as well.
I know you were a little bit surprised by some of the Cavalry team selection, but they have had some injuries and stuff. But even with that, to not have the likes of Davy Norman and Ben Fisk starting in this one, it was a little bit of a surprise.
David Norman was the biggest one for me. Ben Fisk has come mostly.
Yeah, Fisk has been a kind of bench player. But yeah, I thought this was a game made for David Norman. David Norman going up against Michael Baldissimo in the middle of the park.
Oh, yeah. That would have been some great tackles. I also was a little surprised. I think he's just been, this is kind of like a comeback year for him, and I know he got a massive goal, I think, at the weekend, but I was surprised Elijah didn't maybe get the start either. But
I know, I thought they might have ridden that sort of momentum from that wonderful goal that he did get at the weekend. He was so emotional as well after getting that as well, which was really nice to see. And also Sam Adekugbe was at the game watching his brother as well and taking all the action in as well.
Yeah. That was
Everyone's
cool.
going back to Alberta this summer.
Yeah. To watch sporting events.
Yes. And then hopefully playing here very soon in sporting events. We'll be coming to that in our extra podcast. So second half, Vanni talked about it in the post-game presser. There was actually 2 post-game pressers. So there was the Canada Soccer one, which was an absolute farce and a shambles, where we were all sitting on the Zoom call and none of us got to ask a question. They just took 2 questions from the room. So then the Whitecaps fantastically put on a Whitecaps media post-game presser as well, which we'll bring you audio from shortly. But I asked Vanni about this, and he did kind of touch on it in the first post-game presser. For whatever reason, for half an hour, the Whitecaps just fell out of the game. And I don't know whether that was Cavalry that shut them out, or whether it was just their energy levels just dipped and they just couldn't get anything going. But it was all Cavalry. Klomp had a shot that was blocked. There was a number of half chances that Cavalry had. And then they took the lead in the 72nd minute with, if there's a better goal in this tournament, I'll be amazed this year, because top-notch finish from a guy that when I spoke to Tommy Wheeldon a few weeks ago, I said what a big fan I was of this guy. I think he could have done so much more here in Vancouver. He always impressed me with WFC too, but for whatever reason they didn't like him to come on to the MLS roster. Meyer Bevan, the Kiwi, what a finish.
It was a spectacular strike. And would probably make the top 10 goals of all time in the Voyageurs Cup.
Yeah. And his celebration as well of covering his eye. If anyone hadn't seen any of the previous Cavalry games, that's what he does. He wasn't mocking Russell Tybert poking himself in the eye with his finger.
Was Russell poke himself? I thought was the ball hit his finger to his eye or what?
But it was still his own finger that went into his eye.
But it was from the ball. The ball smashed him in the face, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
thought he lost the contact or something.
I was wondering about that as well. But that just capped off a great spell of pressure from Cavalry. It's I don't know what had happened to the Whitecaps. It just totally fell out the game.
Did it make you? It made me think a little bit of was it the first part of last year where the Whitecaps almost didn't play in first halves?
Yes.
It made me think of that a little bit.
Yeah. It's just like they thought, we'll get this done. We'll just take the foot off the gas a little bit, which I'm sure they didn't. And I have to give Cavalry some credit. They will obviously have had a big impact on how the Whitecaps played, because they just nullified everything. There was no attacking threat in the first half hour of that second half from the Whitecaps, and it took that goal from Meyer Bevan to really light a fire under them, and light a fire it did. Ricketts had a header that went wide. There was a scramble. The ball was cleared off the goal line from kind of Caicedo's shot. Ricketts' header, deflection, whatever, took it towards the goal line. It got cleared off. And then Eric Godoy, once again, showing how effective he is in both boxes and why the Whitecaps have to get him healthy to be playing more than just one game a week or whatever. Big equaliser.
Can I say something I never thought I ever would say?
Yeah.
I agree with Wheeler's post-game comments.
Oh, we've lost Zach. We've lost Zach on the show. I didn't hear his post-game comments. So
I actually had the post-game on. And yeah, this is one of those moments, and obviously the Whitecaps have had their own like this, but it's where it's so painful that there's no man on the post on a corner kick.
Yes, that's one of the things. I still go back to that Voyageurs Cup final against Montreal where Martin Rennie did not have anyone on the post. Yeah.
Well, actually, it was I think a bit of a miscommunication because someone didn't cover their man, so the man on the post left that. I think the post to cover someone, I think is what happened.
There wasn't a man on the post. I don't care whose fault it was.
There wasn't.
We could have had 2 championships by now.
Totally. But no, this one was if there's a man on the post, if a child was on the post, Like you
Don't
eight
think you're
player.
allowed to do that, though, are you?
No, but a U8 player, but like it was so slow, it like bounced in, like, yeah, like whatever. It was
It
just,
did take a deflection on the way in as well.
yeah,
Off
yeah,
a
but
cavalry player,
but then was this bounce, and it was like
yeah.
slow mo into the corner, like not slow mo. You know what I mean? It was it wasn't going in at pace. If you have a man on the post, they clear that off the line, like no problem, like no questions asked. So yeah, I felt for Cavalry in that. The part of the pushback from Oliver Platt on the post game was like, well, even though he kind of agreed, he said, I think the focus is having all those 10 outfield players in the box is they're there not on the post because you want them to win the header. That's sort of I guess one of the counter arguments.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great delivery, and Godoy met it well.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And
full credit to Godoy. He did what he needed to do. Ball went in the back of the net. The game's tied up. You can't ask more.
I love Eric Godoy, and as I've said, first name on the team sheet when he's healthy. Please stay healthy. It's like the Whitecaps season genuinely could depend on players staying healthy, like Godoy, and can they get Gold fit and up to the Gold that we know? Because Gold's had 2 concussions. He's been on health and safety protocol, and I got a message from someone saying, "Oh, Gold's just not up to the levels and stuff," and it's like, he's not fit. He's still not up to match fitness.
Yeah,
he's been in and out of the team. It's going to still take a few weeks before he can get up to those levels. We're just starting to see Cava now hitting his stride. We spoke on the last show of like, oh, hopefully this will spark Brian White now, and then he goes into health and safety protocol.
Yeah.
You've got Cody Cropper, who I was saying I think's been doing well. He then goes into health and safety protocol, and you're relying on a 17-year-old keeper who did fantastic at times against Charlotte, but obviously was shaky as well. And if Charlotte had punished some of his other kind of early mistakes, they could have had that game won early, but then he came into his own and he did so well, and he's got a bright future ahead of him. But the luck, or the bad luck, that the Whitecaps have had just health-wise is incredible. But if the Whitecaps can stay healthy, there is a good team in there just waiting to get out.
Yeah, you talk about their season. Forget the season, just this competition alone. Staying healthy could see them make the final.
Yeah,
staying healthy could see them actually raising the Voyageurs Cup.
I'll be honest. See, if we win this trophy and we don't make the playoffs, I see that as a great season.
Well, even Vanni in his post game, maybe he said this other times as well, but his post game was like, our number one priority this season is to win this trophy, as closely followed by making them less playoffs.
Yeah, we could be playing Seattle in the FIFA Club World Cup if they ever decide to have it. We could be one of these CONCACAF representatives. So, games tied at 1 apiece. We've spoken about the no extra time, and who knows how that would have gone, but it goes to the penalty shootout. I'm not going to go through every single penalty. A couple I do want to talk about.
Yeah, obviously.
Lucas Cavallini, balls of steel. That's one of those kind of shots that if it goes wrong, he's crucified for it. But he looked so smug. He had a nice little smirk on his face as he ran back to the halfway line. I love that confident Cava, that swagger Cava.
Yeah, and that obviously takes like a heap of confidence. To be honest, I kind of wish Marco had just stood there.
If he had, he'd have got that. There was no power in that shot at all.
Because Cava, this is not the first time Cava's done that on a penalty. And so he's kind of known for it, and I felt for Marco in the shootout.
I was genuinely surprised. I thought Cavalry had the edge in the shootout because we've seen what Marco Carducci is like in penalty shootouts.
Yeah, they said on the broadcast, or they said in the post game, that he hasn't stopped a penalty since 2019. 2019, I forget what it was.
See, I'm just basing this on him in his residency days.
Oh, in his residency days, man, yeah, he was stopping penalties like left, right, and center.
Yeah,
but his last shootout for Whitecaps that I remember was that unfortunate loss to Toronto.
Well, do you know this was the Whitecaps' first ever penalty shootout win in the MLS era.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
They lost to Toronto
Yeah.
in the Canadian Championship, and they lost to Sporting Kansas City in MLS's back.
Oh right, yeah.
They had never won a penalty shootout before.
The other thing, I can't remember how much we've talked about this on the show or if we did, but the other thing about Marco Carducci is just this. I mean, he's just overcome this battle with testicular cancer, which is amazing.
I know. I'd hoped to chat to him before this game and get him on the show, and because we haven't spoken to him for over a year now, and obviously Marco's always been very generous of his time. And when the announcement came, we both messaged him and wished him all the very best and stuff. But to come back so quickly from that as well, and be in top form as well, clean sheet in his first game back that he had, and just hope that everything is all clear with him. And it just must have been so just nerve-wracking for him, and just knocked you for a loop.
Totally. Yeah, I've heard him talk about the story a little bit, and it's pretty crazy, but also encouraging. And he's now, I think, a little bit, wants to be a voice for, men's health, like saying, hey, you need to check yourself out. You need to know what's going on with your body and whatever. Cause that's literally just what happened to him, right? Just something was not right. And he got it looked at, like quick enough where, they think everything's going to be fine and not going to be it looks like, nothing is spread and like he's okay and all that. But
early detection is the key. There's a comedian that I've liked for years in the UK, watched him from the 90s, called Richard Herring. And same thing happened to him. Just went, found a lump in just a routine check, went to the doctor, had to get a testicle removed, and he's been a big spokesperson then for that, and he's done some marathons to raise money. He's actually just written a book all about it called Can I Have My Ball Back, which is coming out soon and is already going to be a big bestseller. So it needs people like that to raise awareness of it, and obviously we wish Marco all the very best, and we will get him on the show at some point soon just to chat about the season and stuff like that. One of the other penalties I want to talk about before the crucial one, Elliot Simmons, for a young kid, top drawer, top left corner as well, but whoa, what a strike that was.
I was a little worried for him actually, because I don't know if you
he
saw,
looked nervous.
He looked nervous, but not even that. It was like he started to go, but the ref hadn't blown the whistle. So he did one of those, like, starting to go, and but you could tell he wanted to take it quickly. Like, it was like, I think that was part of his plan. Like, don't wait, go and quick. And so it looked like, I thought, oh, this hesitation is just going to mess him up. And it clearly did not.
No,
it was a wonderful penalty.
That was as good a penalty as you will see. I thought Leo Wusu had missed his with the angle. I thought it had gone wide, and then it was just nestling in the net. It's like, oh, okay, that's fine. But then Ali Musi, former Whitecaps residency player, we've watched him come through the ranks here, watched him with Foothills, commentated on him in the PDL. He looked to me nervous as he came up to take this, and it was a great save from Cody Cropper as well. And that was the game changer. Christian Gutierrez stepped up, buried the winning penalty.
There's a few guys more on Cavalry than the Whitecaps where I was like, oh yeah, this could go horribly wrong. Musi was one of them for Cavs. But as soon as Musi missed and I saw it was Gutierrez, I was like, okay, it's over. I turned to Kirk and I was like, yeah, this game's over. The one thing I want to say about Musi is, so I don't know, especially with the protocol stuff, I don't know how much they were able to prepare as a team, Cavalry, for which keeper they might face in a shootout.
I wanted to ask Tommy about that afterwards, but again, no one on the Zoom got picked to ask questions. So
so for me, the one thing, just from a planning, observing kind of thing, my understanding is Cody Cropper is right-footed, and I think right-handed, and so I think he's more comfortable going to his right. And I think you saw with a couple the first 2 goals, he was beaten both times to his left. And I don't know, that's just, I haven't observed him a lot in a shootout. Obviously, I know I think he's done some in USL or whatever. But if they had studied him, I think it might have been smarter to go to that left side, the shooter's right side, to his left side. But yeah, it wasn't a great penalty. It wasn't the worst penalty in the world. But yeah, Cropper did very well to get down to it.
And I want to say as well, Cody Cropper was getting a lot of abuse and stick from the foot soldiers behind the goal in that second half. He took that so well.
Yeah,
he played along, laughed, and had a smile on his face, and I love to see that. It's like when the fans give stick and the players take it good, and then maybe the players give it back. That's how it should be. Sometimes when the fans give stick and the players give it back, the fans can't take it.
Yeah,
and that always annoys me, because it's like, look, you're giving it out. Just because the guys reacted funnily back, don't be dicks about it. But it was a nice little rapport between the foot soldiers and him. I thought that was good.
I love Ronnie Pascal back in the day.
Who was he again?
The Richmond keeper.
Oh, I knew the name. I couldn't think who it was. But Whitecaps through 5-3 in penalties. They're through to the semi-finals. We're going to have a semi, Zach. It's felt like a while since I had a semi, but that's a story for another day. Let's hear a little bit now from the second post-game presser that Vanni Sartini had after the win tonight. Just chatting about the win and how he's feeling. How relieved are you with the way that game played out? You seem to start really strongly, but then kind of fall out of it a little bit in the second half. Is it a big feeling of relief to have got through this one?
For sure. I think that, I'm actually very pleased with the performance of the first half. The first half, I think we did very well. We had 4 or 5 chances to score. Unfortunately, we didn't convert our chances in goal. Marco Carducci made a couple of very good saves, and we've been also unlucky to hit the bar. I think the first half was good. The problem was the second half. In the second half, we lost our, I would say, quality in the build-up. We were a little bit confused. We were a little bit frustrated, and we weren't creating any problem to them. Then they scored that fantastic goal, to be honest. They scored a fantastic goal, and that goal woke us up. So I'm actually relieved by the fact that the goal has been scored like a minute 70 and not a minute 85. So we had chances in order to tie the game, and we had a ball on the line, a couple of headers, another good save by the keeper, and then Eric scored. So I'm really happy. I'm really happy because besides winning and getting to the semi-final, that is the most important thing. We showed again the resilience of the team, and the fact that even when things weren't going in the right direction, we really bonded together, and we took ourselves out of the quicksand. Let's say like this.
Yeah, that was just the other thing I was going to ask you quickly. This team in the last few games, you've shown that you don't put your heads down. You fight right to the end. How good has it been for you to install that quality in the team?
Well, it's not that I installed the quality in the team. It's like the guys now, they have a different sense of belief. It's given also by the fact that we're playing better. So there's a sense of belief that we can do a better job. And then the guys now, they're really helping each other. The guys that came on, they were ready to give 100%. So I'm happy, and it makes me confident for the future, both in MLS and in the cup.
Wondering if there was any particular message you had to the players before the penalty shootout?
Well, I said to do their job. We practiced a lot yesterday, and we scored 16 out of 17 in the practice. And so I was sure that we had a good shooter, and I tried to bring a little bit of last say, if we score everything, Cody for sure is going to save 1 or 2. So don't be scared. Don't just be ready to do your job, and they did. So I'm very happy.
Considering the magnitude of the game, how it unfolded, missing all those chances, going down 1-0 to that banger, going to PK. How many years did you age in this game?
A lot. I was joking that when we were losing, probably I received the notification from Air Canada that I have a flight to Italy to catch. But no, the last 15 minutes have been very, very exciting for fan side, but also very, really nail-biting for us. Also because I felt that we didn't deserve to lose, and especially after we were losing and we had the big chance, they cleared the ball in the line. I said, hey, the god of football are against us today. And but then I remind myself that I'm an atheist, so we tied. That's what I think.
Excellent. I heard you in the post game. You mentioned that if this game was played a month ago, you guys don't win. Do you want to just expand on that a little bit?
I think that if the game, a game like today, like we play well in the first half and then we conceded a goal and we undeservedly go down. If it would have happened a month ago, when the team wasn't in a good place mentally, we wouldn't have the strength to be, I would say, to get back and tie. We showed everyone in the last 5-6 games that we never give up. We never give up, and because now there's much more belief, there's much more trust in what we do, and the players they see themselves that even when things are not going well, we can get back. So I think that again, if this it's a proof that things are going in the right direction, and it's a boost of confidence, not only for the cup. And now we are a game away from the final, and but also for the league in MLS.
Congrats on the win. Now, like you mentioned, you go to the semifinals. You host York with the chance to host a potential final if you win. I mean, what are your thoughts on how it's lined up for you guys now in that semifinal here?
Well, we are happy because we're playing home. I think any team in the semifinal, if you want to win the cup, we need to beat either Montreal or Toronto. So if we have to beat it's not that I don't consider myself lucky because we're going to play a semifinal against the CPL team. I consider myself lucky because we played the semifinal at BC Place. And because we know that at BC Place, we are a team that it's really, really, really hard to beat. And we will go with our full guns and trying to be, I would say, the best version of ourselves.
Vanni Sartini there, relieved, excited, delighted, every word that you can think of to sum up that win. And the Whitecaps now will be hosting York United in the semi-finals. June 21st or 22nd, I believe it's going to be at BC Place. That should be good. We'll talk a little bit about how York got there in the next part, but there's no better chance for the Whitecaps to get back to a Canadian Championship final than this, Zach. I spoke about it. I was confident. I know it was going to be tough, and we know how the Whitecaps had done against CPL sides, but this draw was made for them. Yeah,
and it gets better having to play York as opposed to the Pacific.
Although it does spoil my whole redemption tour theme that I had going.
Again, on the One Soccer broadcast, I can't remember which one of them, but said, "Oh, it's the Nash Derby," which I hope no one calls it that.
Well, yeah, Martin Nash coming back. It'll be interesting. I guess there will be a lot of build-up between him and Steve, maybe going into. That's one way to help sell tickets, which for these games, the Whitecaps certainly need to get some fans excited about this. And it's a semi-final. If you can't get excited about having a semi, it's like, when are you going to get excited? So, How did York get there? Well, we will chat about that and the other Canadian Championship quarterfinals after this.
Hi, I'm Vanni Sartini, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's our Artist of the Month here at AFTN for the month of May. Three-piece band from Chicago, Illinois. That was their single Billy, taken from their debut album Versions of Modern Performance. That's going to be coming out on June 3rd. Make sure you get that ordered. Great band, looking forward to hearing more from them, looking forward to seeing them next month. And we've got one more song to come from them in this episode. But for this part, we're going to be turning our attentions now to the rest of the Canadian Championship quarterfinals. Exciting entertainment. I know today's Montreal Forge game was maybe the biggest disappointment for me from the four. I didn't quite see that one going the way it went, but overall, some very exciting and close matches.
Yeah, I think they were all intriguing in their own way. This quarterfinal round, I think Bobby Smirniotis shares your frustration at the outcome of the Forge match versus Montreal. But
yeah, that was not the Forge that we're used to seeing. I mean, let's talk about that one first. Then it was a 3-0 win for Montreal, and from start to finish, they had the bell ends happy. It's an Ibrahim hat-trick, and I don't know, Forge just... It looked a big gulf between the teams, and I wasn't expecting that. Of all the four quarterfinals, this was the one I thought would be really close and could have an upset.
Well, yeah, because the tie last year, the shootout victory for Montreal last year, made you believe it. There could be a repeat of a close match, and but
Forge haven't looked the Forge of old this season, which is surprising considering the big additions that they've made as well.
Yeah, except for you can't underestimate their CONCACAF run. We talk about MLS teams all the time, and you can't. Yeah, I think that is. Plagued them, if you will.
Yeah, and they have had slow starts before, and in previous years, this game has come later in the season. So maybe if this was played in August or September, then they would have found a footing. Of course, they do have the 2020 final coming up soon, so they can at least win that.
True.
Anyway, Tuesday night's games. Halifax 1, TFC 2. I really thought Halifax were going to pull the shock here. Goalless first half. Michael Bradley put TFC ahead in the 55th minute. Sam Salter, lovely goal in the 69th minute. I think the keeper probably didn't have a good sight of that as it came through. And Halifax after that had a couple of chances to go ahead as well, and it's like those fine margins that we talk about. And in the end, I thought it was going to penalties, but up stepped Osorio, bit of a scrambled goal, 86th minute, TFC squeeze over the line.
Yeah, I think Bob Bradley knew too much about that goal, the first goal, And you're right. The equalizer from Halifax was the keeper had to have been partially unsighted. I mean, the what happened on the field aside, the Wanderers ground is a great place. Like, I cannot wait for when I get to go visit.
I was meant to go there in 2019. I think I've told the story in the show before, but then my wife wasn't well, so we cancelled our flights, and I had 2 games I was going to take in on that trip, and I can't wait to get there and take a game in there.
Yeah, they are the not on the field obviously, but off the field. I think they are the envy of most CPL clubs for how the culture of their supporters and at the stadium has developed and grown, and it's really encouraging. I've gotten to talk to hung out with James Covey a little bit from the Privateers, and just lots of encouraging things happening there. And this was another game where you're just like, oh man, like, look how up for, and again, no excuse that it was a midweek. I don't know what the actual attendance was, but it just felt like the ground was full or fullish, and like it was rocking. And
it was.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you look at that and you think, I hope that's what we're going to have here in Langley. Similar kind of stadium, similar kind of atmosphere, but it's also sustaining it and getting the fans in, week out. And Halifax, to their credit, have been good at that. Some of the other teams, the attendances in CPL this year have been somewhat lacking for some of the matches. Yeah. But Halifax have certainly been able to draw good attendances for most of their games so far.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's what the CPL side and the Lower Mainland here need. Like, it needs to be that, and ideally more. But the stadium won't look the same, I'm pretty sure, because that's quite a unique setup they have there. But it like I said, I think it hopefully encourages, inspires, frustrates all at the same time other CPL fan bases, and I think that'll be the same for the Lower Mainland team.
So that now sets up a semi-final. Toronto are hosting Montreal.
Shocking that.
No date announced for that one yet, but you've got to feel on current form, Montreal's got to be the favourites.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you said Ibrahim got the hat trick, right? But how many, did Kai get just the 1 assist?
I don't know.
Kai set up one where there's like the open net tap in goal.
So that sets up one semi-final, and the other semi-final, the Whitecaps are going to be hosting York United. That was quite the game at Starlight Stadium on Tuesday night. I toyed with going over for it, but again, it's just the costs of everything. Just disappointed it kind of didn't go over in the end, because the atmosphere when we were there for that Whitecaps game last year was one of the best ever, and the place was rocking when Diddage got that 97th minute equaliser.
Yeah,
I believe.
It was pretty empty.
It was still rocking with the fans that were there. Give them credit.
Right,
but it wasn't a great crowd, but I understand, again, it's midweek and it's York. You've just played them. It's not a sexy game. Yeah. And for a lot of people, the Canadian Championship still really isn't in their psyche as a big, big thing. Yeah,
I guess to use your vernacular, we need to teach the Canadian public that the Voyageurs Cup matches are sexy in and of themselves.
Yes. Cup football is still quite an alien concept to people. You know, people that watch the English game know about the FA Cup, and whether they need to kind of market it like something like that, I don't know, just to get some of the Anglophiles kind of clued in that, it's like that, is it? Because genuinely, I think if you ask some of the fan base, they'll be like, it's the Canada Cup. So what?
No, never.
But this game, Amir Didic put Pacific in the lead in the 11th minute, and you think, okay, they're pretty much going to go on and win this now. It was 0-0 in their meeting at the weekend.
Is that what they thought?
Possibly, because they didn't go for the jugular, I felt. And they let York come back into it, and full credit to York, because they just raised their game. Roger Thompson tied it up in the 25th minute, and then young Dero, who is having an amazing debut CPL season.
I think I like him better than better than his dad.
Yeah, he has a bright future ahead of him. He looks very, very good. Another goal from him, 31st minute, put York into a shock 2-1 lead. And for me, the second half was pretty much a bit of a non-event. York did well at killing it off. Wasn't the most exciting second half. For whatever reason, Pacific just could not get their attack going. And it looked done and dusted. It looked like that the game was going to be over. One Soccer clearly thought that. Decided to show us.
This was shock. This to me was after the not being extra time. This is the most shocking and disappointing thing of the round.
Yes, I mean, I just can't believe that Nigerian woman got Pacific back into the game, though. She came from nowhere. I didn't even see her on the subs bench.
What was that again? Top 10 goals of the month?
It was goals of the month.
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue that Didic's 97th minute equaliser could be classed as a goal of the month.
Yeah, we need to talk about this.
But if it didn't happen?
Yeah. If no one saw it.
If no one saw it, did it happen?
Yeah. This is, I think, Pacific once again benefited from there not being VAR. I think if there's VAR, I think Diaz, the center forward, is...
he's in front of the keeper.
Yeah, I think he's called, quote unquote, like actively offside because he's partially obstructing or fully obstructing the view of the keeper, which I think delays his response.
See, for me, it's a borderline one. If I'm York, I'm like, yeah. If I'm Pacific, I'm like, no, he wasn't blocking him. I don't know whether that would have then been deemed clear and obvious to overturn it.
So here's the thing. I hear those perspectives, but for me, is the player in an offside position? Yes. Does he obstruct the keeper's line of sight at all? I think he does. So therefore, for me, it's clear and obvious that it was offside.
I mean, I
haven't seen it from every angle. I haven't seen the.
My personal feeling is, I think goals like that should be called offside.
I know Steve and I sometimes tend to disagree on clear and obvious.
Yeah.
But
it's okay. He's just sent a message. He's on his onion rings now, so he's still camped out there. I probably should reply to him at some point.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, and no, this is after the fact. Like, I didn't realize this in the moment. This was looking at replays of it later, and I have not seen every replay by any means, but I think I
haven't seen the goal, so it's okay.
Yeah, I think Pacific was fortunate in one respect. However, more so than in the Vancouver Cavalry match, I felt like this game, had it gone like a proper cup match or gone to extra time, I think there would have been a winner before shootout, and that undoubtedly would have been Pacific.
Yeah, I think so too. It's that they were just so much in the ascendancy there. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the shootout, it was disappointing from a Pacific point of view, especially how it ended, because as we were talking about, Marco telegraphed that.
Yeah, well, Diaz's penalty was horrible too.
Yes, yeah. Let's not put it all on that. I mean, what? Just in general, I tweeted this out, but like, what an emotional roller coaster this game was. Because Pacific lead, York come back, York think they've won it, last ditch equaliser to take it to penalties, and you're thinking, oh, it's swung to Pacific's favour. Then Nico Giantsopoulos, who I've got to say, I'm loving more and more as a character. There was one moment in the second half when he was kind of just giving these kind of really funny eyes to the camera, as if he knew the camera was on him from wherever. He's one of those characteristic Bruce Grobbelaar style goalkeepers to me. And I'd love the Whitecaps to sign him at some point if they want to add any keepers. It's like we've already... It makes me wonder, we'd heard pre-season the Whitecaps were interested in a CPL keeper. And I immediately thought, Marco Carducci, Callum Irvin, bring them back into the fold. The fact that they went to Nico for this Charlotte game, maybe Nico was the guy that they'd been looking at all along.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised.
But he's a great character, and he had a couple of big saves in that shootout.
I just want to say one other thing, and I love Marco Bustos. A message with him after the match. I hope that he doesn't get. I hope this isn't get him stuck in a rut or hurt his form or have him underperform after this, whatever. But for someone who's taken so many penalties, I think that short of a run up, I don't think is good. And then I think his body language made it easy for Nick to read, and so I feel I'm gutted for him, gutted for Pacific, and happy for Martin Nash. But
yes, and I mean that is certainly one of the storylines going into the semi-final now, as is the actual Nico Giansopoulos storyline, because it's like Youssef has clearly had a chance to look and work with Nico, so it's like, did he learn stuff about him? Or did Nico learn stuff about the Whitecaps attacks and players, who was healthy and able to have some training with him at least? So that's an interesting little wrangle, which we'll speak to Vanni and to Martin Nash about as well, and hopefully get a chat with Nico as well about his whole experience. But what a couple of days that was for him, so bizarre. You're in Pacific or Langford on the Friday night, then you're flying to Charlotte. He didn't even have his passport with him, so somebody had to fly his passport out to him. They brought it from York to the island. Then he flies to Charlotte, but he's on the bench for it. And then he flies back to play in this game. Now, I did see a lot of fans, especially CPL fans, saying, why would you start a 17-year-old academy keeper and not him? Why would you fly him all that way, just have him sitting on the bench? I personally think that was the right decision, just because Max is part of the team and they've given him the contract now. If they hadn't maybe signed him to that pre-contract and given him the MLS2 deal and everything like that, I would maybe have started Nico, but he's the guy that they're looking as a future Whitecaps keeper. So I think it was right that he got the start, and we'll never know now whether it would have made a difference of who had been in goal. But what's your thought on that? Who would you have started in Charlotte?
Yeah, I'm fine with the decision that they made. I like that the younger player got the nod in this case, and also not just that, but the player that is for a long time been a part of the organization. So I'm fine with it, and I think, other than maybe needing like a Nick Dasovic style headband, I think he acquitted himself quite well. Or was he wearing one and I just couldn't tell? He's
got a lot of hair.
Yeah, I was just like the dude. I'm worried like his hair is going to distract him, or like he's not going to be able to see properly or something. Also, what was there any reason behind Flo Youngworth taking all the goal kicks?
Yes. Max just passed a fitness test that morning because he was coming off a quad injury.
Oh, okay. I feel better about that.
But that said,
I missed that.
That was the only thing that made me question, why are you starting a 17-year-old keeper that's never played a match like this in front of 32,000 fans that's just coming off a quad injury and can't take goal kicks in that heat? So all those things, it's like, but well done for Max. Still in the first half, he did well. Couple of shaky moments, that's only to be expected. And with that Whitecaps defence in front of him, it could have been a lot of shaky moments. And the goal that they gave up was horrendous. And the more you watch it back, there's just so many things that you can find wrong with it. One of my big burning questions is, why was Ryan Raposo there as like a right back in a back three at that point? And stuff like that. But it's now the Whitecaps v York. They should get through that and get to the final. And as you said in the last part, Zach, these are the kind of runs in the games that can maybe spark something for the rest of the season. This is their first win albeit on penalties, on the road all year.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
So there's that aspect of it. And obviously we know how good they are at home. So this Saturday, they're heading to take on Sporting Kansas City, who's been in a bit of a horrible run of form themselves. They went down to a 7-2 hammering on May 14th in Portland. But since then, they've come away with a 2-1 win against Colorado. And I finally got to watch all the sending offs in that one that we talked about in the last show. Crazy, crazy stuff. Then they drew 1-1 in San Jose on Sunday. And then tonight in the US Open Cup, they got past Houston Dynamo 2-1. So maybe they've turned a corner as well. And Kansas City's never been the happiest hunting ground for the Whitecaps. That's going to be a tough one, I think, for the Caps at the weekend. It's a 6 o'clock Pacific time kickoff. What do you do for this one? Because you don't know. You've got to think everyone's going to be out of health and safety protocol by then. Do you mix it up again? Do you go really full strength? Or do you give some of the guys that played tonight a rest?
That's a good question. I think the away thing, I think he might rest a few people.
Because the following week, they've got Real Salt Lake at home. So it's a huge one. And then
that's like a must
break.
Win. Yeah, that's a must win. But also, Johnny and his pals are still not in a great form, right?
No, but they're starting to turn that corner.
The blue hell or the cauldron or whatever they do.
Yeah. And as I've said, that's a stadium talk about Halifax, that's a stadium I've got to see a game in at some point because it just looks fantastic. I just love the atmosphere. I love how close to the pitch they are.
You just can't go where Johnny's playing, right?
No, not until he leaves and that restraining order is cancelled. Oh, I should have reached out to him for a chat for the game, but I guess they were playing tonight. Maybe I'll try and get a chat with him over the next couple of days. I think I'm allowed to do it by telephone.
Yeah, by Zoom.
Not by Zoom because of that last unfortunate incident and the wardrobe malfunction that I had at my end. I thought my camera was off. That's all I'm going to say.
Is that the one where you're wearing like no shirt or a robe?
I was wearing a top.
Oh.
Anyway, predictions for Saturday?
Man,
mine's is a horrible game to watch.
It's hard to go against Vancouver because of kind of this run they've been on. But I think because of the road.
What have you done with the real Zach?
No. I mean, I think you've got to give them some grace on the whole Charlotte thing. But
absolutely. I think they put in a brave performance in that.
And I think the result in the Voyageurs Cup will inspire them. I mean, I kind of see it as like a 2-1 to Kansas City, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a 2-2.
See, I was thinking 2-1, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was 1-1. So
there you go.
We're on the same page. So yeah,
Steve just texted me. He says 3-0 Vancouver.
And he's on his fries now.
Dessert.
Oh, lucky him. He's got a sundae from Dairy Queen. Or is it a blizzard?
Yes, blizzard.
He's in Calgary. It's got to be a blizzard.
Blizzard.
Yeah. Anyway, that is it for our chat about the Canadian Championship. It's not it for this show. We've still got League1 BC to talk about, and we'll be back with that after this.
Hi, I'm Mike Dean. You're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Please to grind to my
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it might be the last song we play this month from our Artist of the Month, Horse Girl, out of Chicago, Illinois. I think we'll probably have a weekend show, so we can probably squeeze one more song in. But just in case we don't, we've done a double feature from them in this episode. That is their latest single, just released 8 days ago. It's called Dirtbag Transformation, Still Dirty. Taken from their debut album, Versions of Modern Performance, that's getting released on Matador Records on June 3rd. And as I've mentioned before, if you've enjoyed them in our shows this last few weeks, you can get out and see them for yourselves. They're playing at the Wise Hall in Vancouver on July 15th. So in this last part of this episode, we're going to turn our attentions now to League1 BC. The new league kicked off on Sunday. 3 games on the men's side, 3 games on the women's side, kicking off the inaugural opening weekend. Some fantastic action in all of those games. Lots of goals, lots of talking points, a couple of sending offs, some absolutely fantastic goals as well. Vancouver Whitecaps ladies team and Victoria Highlanders had the pleasure of kicking off the very first match ever played in the league up at Kenwood's Field at UBC on Sunday afternoon. Whitecaps ran out 5-1 winners in that one. Rovers FC beat Altitude FC out in Kamloops 2-0. And in a really close game at Swangard, it was 2-1 for Unity FC over TSS Rovers. On the men's side, Victoria Highlanders went 2-up in the first half against the Whitecaps at Kenwoods. Whitecaps, though, came storming back in the second half. It was a proverbial game of 2 halves, this one. Brought it back to 2-all. Went down to 10 men for the last 13 minutes of the match. And I've got to say, the last 10 minutes of this one, it was just end-to-end action. Commentating on it was just breathtaking stuff. You could really hardly catch your breath. The action was thick and fast. Finished 2-2 though. Teams sharing the points in this one, as in fact they did in all the matches on the men's side on opening weekend. Altitude FC took a 45th minute lead away to Rovers FC. Looked like they were going to be coming away with all 3 points as well, but a stoppage time penalty from Rovers, who were down to 10 men by that point as well, saw them grabbing a point in a 1-all draw. And that was the same scoreline as well at Swangard Stadium, as Unity FC took a 42nd minute lead with an absolutely stunning free kick from Sidrich Vukaj. A momentous moment, the first goal in team history, and the referee didn't like his celebrations, giving him a straight red card, leaving Unity to see out the remaining 48 minutes of this one with a man reduced. TSS had the better of this game in the early going, gave away that sloppy set-piece goal, but fought back well in the second half. Devon O'Hay equalised for TSS Rovers, and they pushed hard to get the winner, but unfortunately they just could not get the breakthrough in that one. So 1-all draw in that, all 3 matches finishing with a draw, just kind of showing how close I think the men's division is going to be in League1 BC this year. Varsity FC, they had a bye in both the men and the women's side. They kick off their campaign on Thursday evening out in Langley, taking on Unity FC. For me, they still are the team to beat in this league, so we'll see how they get their campaign off and running in this one. But I want to bring you a little bit of audio now. First of all, we're going to hear from Whitecaps under-19 head coach Rich Fagan, as he talks to us about his side's comeback performance against the Highlanders and just what this league means to these young guys coming through the Whitecaps Academy. So, thoughts on that one? It was a storming second half performance. Are you happy with the point, or do you feel you could have, if you'd stayed on to 11v11, got the 3?
I think with 11, we probably had momentum to go on and get more. But then we have to change things when we go down a man, which, to be fair to the boys, I thought they did a really good job of quickly organising, adjusting, and then they even created a few chances down a man. But had we not had Jovan sent off when he was sent off, I felt like we had good momentum and we probably could have got more than a point.
The start of the game, I don't want to say it was flat by you guys, but did they catch you out a little bit with how much they were attacking?
I think we had some nerves. Obviously, they're young. They're 18. There's maybe one 19-year-old in that group, a 21-year-old. So they're a young team. I feel like it was just nerves, but yeah, I would agree that it was flat. And we spoke about it at halftime, and I feel like, to their credit, they came out in the second half with a lot more energy, a lot more purpose, more intensity, and that was a big part of why we were able to pull back the 2 goals.
Never got a chance to speak to you before the season started. So what does this league mean to this group of players in the development? Because I know you've been involved with the club for so long. You dropped down a bit because you like the younger guys in the development. So you've been with these guys for so long. What is this going to mean to this group of players?
Just provides an extra layer of development opportunity. So all the guys, they would tell you right now that they could play in the next pro team. And they're close. But I feel like this will just give them better competition, more competition, and then better prepare them to take the step next year, hopefully.
Cheers. Good luck with everything. Rich Fagan there, just talking about the Whitecaps under-19 team, and a lot of great talent in that team coming through. And as Rich said there, a lot of these guys feel that they've got what it takes to be playing at the next level, MLS Next Pro with WFC2, and there were some hard decisions that the team had to make this year as to exactly what players did make that jump to WFC2 for this season, what ones are going to be held back for another year in the 19s to hopefully make that jump next year. Of course, there is the possibility to move the guys up if someone has an outstanding start to this League1 BC season, or even the full season as well, because MLS Next Pro will still be going. Then they can sign them to an MLS Next Pro deal and add them to that roster if they want. So it's a great opportunity for a lot of these guys to showcase their talents, to show the club what they've got, that they do deserve this shot at the next level. And from that opening game, there was a lot of guys that really stood out. For me, in the second half, Tomas Pena, he ran the show for the Whitecaps. He got the first goal, he got an assist in the second, and he was really pulling the strings. So he looks great as well. And the halftime subs that Rich Fagan made really kind of invigorated that team as well. They're actually missing their top scorer from the Fraser Valley season that the 19s played in this past winter season, Chris Albom. He is hopefully going to be back with the team sooner rather than later, but missing just now with injury. So I'm interested to see how the Whitecaps do. I still feel they're going to be there or thereabouts, the top 2 and getting to the championship game. But I was very impressed with the Highlanders in that match. Their first half performance in particular, the play, the passing play that they had, their attacking play, their pinpoint crosses and accuracy with their ball deep into the box was very impressive to see. Steve Simonson has really started to build a good team there. And a lot of those guys are from the UNBC Timberwolves. And speaking to Steve at half-time of the game, he says, watch that team go in U Sports next year. They're going to be a much stronger team than they were this year. So both those teams are going to be interesting to watch. And I think we'll probably not get a proper idea of which teams are going to be the real contenders for those top 2 spots probably till the end of June, as the teams kind of get some chemistry and gel and find their footing. But I think you have to expect that both Unity and TSS Rovers are also going to be there or thereabouts. Great crowd out at Swangard for the home opener on Sunday, around 700 people, which was also the same crowd that I think Rivers FC got out in Kamloops by all reports as well. So great to see those teams getting the support out for their early games. TSS Rovers certainly looked impressive attacking-wise in that first game against Unity, and they're going to feel a little bit hard done by that they didn't come away with all 3 points. Caught up with head coach Will Cromack after the match just to ask him about the game and what he can expect from that next match out at Rivers this coming Sunday. So, first game in the books. How did that one play out for you? Went behind at half-time, but a good second half fight back?
Yeah, I mean, this is a set piece and transition league, right? Just like the USL. We talked about it. I thought we had it under control. Probably could have taken advantage of our chances in the first 20 minutes where we had complete control. gave away a silly, unnecessary free kick. To be fair, lad did a really good job. What a wonderful free kick that was. I'll be honest with you, I don't think that's a red card. Not that it ruined the game or made the game. Certainly didn't make their life any easier. And then we kind of had to try and break down a block. And, I think that's probably something you've talked about before. When you're not gelled and you don't have all the ways to figure out how you can break it down, you have to rely on individual brilliance. And we got the goal, so we get a point. Probably wanted more out of that when they go down to 10. With that said, we didn't lose, so we've started out decently.
From the second half, it seemed to be that you had a lot of cohesion. We're moving the ball around well. What was the message to them at half-time?
Well, really, you're not going to go in there anymore, I don't think, and start throwing, containers at the wall. A little bit of understanding as far as our defensive organization will create attacking organization and vice versa. So really had to get our midfield a little bit more organized, and really what it came down to is, we have some pretty dynamic attacking type players, so trying to get wide overloads, especially when they're down to a one man less. So that was the message. Play soccer, relax, get it on the floor, and don't worry. They're going to play a mid block right now. Totally fair. Try to get that ball out wide and double down on them, and it seemed to work. Certainly worked more and more as we went forward, and I was happy to get almost all the guys in. A couple, oddly, with two concussions, if you will, together. Kyle Jones with multiple stitches, and then Vega's got a goose egg. I don't know if it's concussion, but it most definitely was both our guys hitting each other, so we had to make some subs on the fly there, and it took about 5 minutes to get reorganized. But
what are you expecting then for the away game next week?
This league is going to be 1-0, 2-1, 3-2s. This is going to be extremely tight because even this team, they add a couple pieces, and it wrecks kind of cohesion that they might have from their university moments. So really you're going to be looking at having to battle every single moment. I said to the guys, to get to a World Cup, we use 44 players. Don't think that we're going to use 11. So everybody's going to be needed. Everybody's going to have to be playing their part and show themselves off. To be fair, I thought a couple of the guys that came on that I didn't expect to play today did exceptionally well. So, I'm learning as well, but I expect that John and at Rivers is going to have his guys really well organized. He's added a few pieces. Certainly, they're never an easy out when it comes to youth sports as well.
TSS head coach Will Cromack there. And I think this TSS team is definitely going to just get better and better as the chemistry builds and they find the best kind of partnerships and who's going to work best with who. And as Will talked about there, you're going to see a lot of these guys getting minutes over this season. It's a short season. The games come thick and fast. They've learned from USL League 2 that the teams that have done well in those leagues, the teams with the bigger squads, and TSS certainly have one of the bigger squads in the league. Their next match is going to be this coming Sunday, as I said, at Rovers FC in Kamloops. It's Unity FC taking on Varsity FC up at Trinity Western on Thursday evening. The women kick off at 6 o'clock in that one, the men at 8. 2 games on the Sunday, that Rovers TSS game, with the men kicking off at 2 and the women at 4:30. And then at Kinsman Field, get out to this one if you're in the area. Altitude FC, a club that has done fantastic stuff so far in the build-up to this inaugural season. They take on the Whitecaps. The women kick off at 1 o'clock. The men kick off at 3:30. Myself and Gideon will have the call on Home Team Live. Hopefully you'll be able to hear us in sync this week because there were some audio issues with the Home Team app for the opening weekend. Fingers crossed that these will all be sorted out for the coming games this weekend. But if you're in the North Shore, get along to Kinsman Park in North Vancouver. Altitude FC, they've done so well in building this club. They really deserve your support. There's going to be a beer garden. There's going to be food trucks. Possibly even a pizza oven. That's not been confirmed. They're trying to make that happen. But How can you turn down pizza and beer at a football match? It's just made for that. It's been a great start to the league. Very excited to be a part of it from a commentating point of view. Hope you've been enjoying our coverage on AFTN. We've got a lot more to come over the next few days in the build-up to Altitude's home openers and also in the weeks to come as well. And if this first weekend was anything to go by, it was a great showcase for the league, for what this league can be and can mean to these local players. And everyone I spoke to that was out at the games had a fantastic time. So get out and support your local team and help this league grow. But that is pretty much it for this episode of the AFTN Soccer Show. But of course we can't go without bringing you this week's Wavelength. And Football Violence Awareness Month is continuing here in the month of May at AFTN. We're going back to 1996 for this episode. English punk band The Oppressed, a band we've featured on the show numerous times over the years. This is a song taken from their album Music for Hooligans, and this is Hooligans. From 1996, The Oppressed and Hooligans. Kind of feels very fitting, I think, that we had Football Violence Awareness Month in May, looking at everything that's been going on in the English playoffs and all the pitch invasions and the stuff that's gone with that. So that is it now for this episode of the AFTN Soccer Show. Just before we go though, Zach, let everyone know where they can find you online, any final thoughts or anything that you've learned this week.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at ZacharyAM, occasionally tweeting there. And I don't know what I learned this week. I enjoyed the end to the club football season, particularly in Germany. It was mostly exciting with a few disappointments. Also, more important for the moment is the fact that Canada is coming back to play a BC place, which obviously people continue to squabble about online, which, again, if we could only harness that energy into something positive. But regardless of how much online squabbling you've participated in, I just really encourage everyone to get out to those games and to support the team, celebrate the World Cup qualification for the good of the players, the team, and just to lift them and encourage them as the road to the World Cup continues.
Well, I'm Michael McCall. You can find me on Twitter at AFTN Canada. Read all our stuff away from the numbers, aftn.ca. You'll find all our Whitecaps, Canadian Championship and League1 BC stuff on the site there. Give us a like, subscribe, turn on notifications on YouTube, youtube.com/AFTN Canada. And if you're not a subscriber to the extra podcasts, you should, because there's going to be a good one coming up about these Canadian games. $3 a month, $30 a year. Be a subscriber. Join the gang. And the thing that I learned this week that I got really excited about is CONCACAF could have a new member come 2023 because Greenland might be applying to become members of CONCACAF.
I saw you tweet about that. You're excited.
I've fancied going to Greenland for a while. Obviously, I've flown over it a lot coming back from Scotland, and it's what a trip. Vancouver to Greenland, to Iceland, to the Faroes, to Scotland. That's a dream trip.
What would we call their national team? What would the nickname be? Like the Reindeers or the?
Always for the stereotypes. The snowmen.
The snowmen. There you go.
Don't eat green snow. But that is it for this show. We will be back soon. Until next time, thanks for listening. Take care. Hug your loved ones. And mon the Caps.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
AFTN